may have visitors tonight.
There'll be food and drink and ghosts, and perhaps even a few murders.
It has been established that persons who have recently died have been returning to life and committing acts of murder.
You remember the fun we had when you poisoned me?
Soothing, isn't it?
Well, you realize, of course, that we'd have to have a body to put in that casket.
Yeah, they're dead. They're all messed up.
This is a spooky edition of the Argo City podcast with Maddie.
She's so amusing.
And Matthew.
Imbecile, bombastic ignoramus.
And we have returned. Very late this time around as well.
Well, we had some problems. So, Netflix, like the unrepentant syphilitic whore that it is, failed us once again, and we had to resort to physical media. Don't get rid of your physical media.
Yeah, I was struggling to get it to work. But this week's movie was one I'd actually been wanting to hit for a while. As an avid zombie lover, I had been hitting a couple of different zombie stuff lately, like, as of most recently, I was watching through All of Us Are Dead on Netflix. But this time, we watched The Train to Busan. And I had actually been wanting to hit this movie for a while because I've heard a little bit about it. And I was like, okay, this sounds good.
It's got a long reputation. I mean, this is not a new movie. This is 2016, I believe.
Yeah, I feel like I remember hearing about it, but I hadn't actually seen it up until this point.
And I happen to have a copy of this along with a bunch of other Korean horror that I found in a nice little collection at Dollar Tree. Mm-hmm. So, I've seen it earlier. I've seen it before you, but yeah.
This movie was a whirlwind. Mm-hmm. I walked out of this movie sobbing.
Yeah. So actually, you said you had heard some things about this. What did you know going in? What did you think this was going to be?
I knew the name.
Okay, that was...
I was also, like, I feel like there was something else that I remembered about it, but I cannot remember it for the life of me.
I mean, like, the cover or the poster
yes,
is
the poster,
part of...
I recognize the poster.
And we recognize the moment that we see the poster when they're running from the train. So it's all... There's definitely something there.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
We had a dubbed version.
Yes, we did watch the English dub.
I will say the little girl in this, her voice, I felt like she was dubbed too old. It sounded like a kid that was just a little bit older than it should be.
Oh.
That threw me off a little bit. But we also had subs on as well, which is one of my favorite games, to like compare the sub and the dub and see what changes.
You said it like right before the start. Let's play my favorite game, sub versus dub. And I was laughing along with that because that was fun. Whew.
So yeah, we're doing a zombie movie this week, but it's not an American zombie movie, which means anything goes. The rules are out the window.
Literally, like, when it comes to a lot of horror, or at least a lot of the horror that I've seen, it's like, there's a couple rules that you kind of stand by. You don't typically kill kids. You don't typically kill pregnant people. You don't typically kill the elderly unless it's like, well, unless it's a zombie movie. The elderly always die in the zombie movies. But, I mean,
there's just, it's like you don't know what to expect. The aesthetic is going to be completely different, and this doesn't look like a zombie movie, any zombie movies that we really get into.
No, and I actually did want to talk a little bit about that comparison there. Mm-hmm. Because one of the things, especially with this, is the transformation from human to zombie when the infection is kicking in. The cracking of the bones as they're, like, bending backwards. That is something, because I told you that I've watched All of Us Are Dead, which is also Korean on Netflix. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing there.
The contortionist that's actually a thing you'll find in a lot of Asian horror, whether it's Korean or Japanese or even Chinese. You will see a lot more. You even see it in anime.
That's also true.
The contortion and the weird, and even the characters that aren't like trying, the zombies that aren't trying to be contortionists. Yeah, those shoulders sure look dislocated.
They
and
did not stray away, especially when they're like transferring from the two cars when they reach one of the stations. One of the zombies literally has his arm bent behind him as he's looking between the two groups.
I mean, we see they throw this stuff in casually, whereas in an American movie, this would be intentional. This would be the set piece. No, this is just another one of the.
They're just freaking us out, scaring everybody.
So, a quick recap, just in case you haven't seen this in the last 10 years. Train to Busan is a father who is bringing his daughter to go see her mother on the local train. And while that's happening, it's a zombie apocalypse just happens to break out, and hilarity ensues.
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean,
and they do such a beautiful job slowly incorporating the details of this apocalypse as the movie goes on.
Yeah, like, it's not in your face and it's not right away.
It's not. I would say they spend at least 15, 20 minutes of build-up.
I mean, I'd probably even go more than that. But, we saw some of this in Shaun of the Dead, where the guys are stumbling home from the bar and there's a zombie in the background.
Yeah.
They're dancing with it, or he walks by a couple that's, wait a minute, that's not making out, that's something different. So they're doing this too, but they're trying to do it on a much bigger scale, because this is not, even though it is a very narrow focus, it's not a small scale movie. We are constantly
because we're in a train, we're constantly moving from location to location.
Yeah.
We have the news constantly playing above on the screens and such in the cabins.
Now the news, that's a trope that's actually pretty common with a zombie apocalypse movie. This is something that's really, really integral in stuff like Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Like there are literal, in fact, they're going through and getting actual newscasters from PA to
That's hilarious.
Do the reports. Yeah.
That's terrible, but also hilarious.
It is. In fact, we even got one of them to do a news report for Backyard Zombie Movie for you.
Oh no.
So
no.
Yeah. That's a thing that happened. So yes,
okay.
The news reports do help give the scale, but then we also get these astonishing wide shots of these cities on fire.
It's like I'm sitting here and I'm like, I don't know these Korean cities. Like I can spot some of the like Japan cities and such. I can spot some of those, but I have no idea what I'm looking at, honestly, during some of those wide shots.
These are not small cities. I mean, I'm fairly certain we saw Seoul on fire, and it's they're not shying away from the destruction. They're not shying away from the zombies themselves. I will say this, despite the contortions, and there's plenty of blood spatter, but there's not a ton of gore. We occasionally see a bite, but what we mostly see is them just jumping on people. And biting. We don't get a lot of torn flesh.
We did see torn flesh with the first zombie in the cabin, though.
A little bit of that. But
aside from that, no, you're right. You know what? Now that I think about it, we don't really see much
They
gore.
managed to really push the terror and the horror through this without that.
The need for gore. And I am very much a person, like, I don't enjoy gore.
Right.
I don't like that.
You would have noticed it if it was there. That's the thing.
But this is more thriller, and that's what I love in horror movies. Mm-hmm. I love to be on the edge of my seat the whole time, yelling at the screen, and I was very talkative during this movie.
And they really did keep you on. I mean, first and foremost, just the context, just the setting. The idea of zombie apocalypse on a train. First and foremost, it's kind of like, man, why has nobody ever done this before? And then second, so and we kept going back and forth. It's like, you're in the best place possible, right?
Yeah, you're in the best and worst place possible.
Or are you? Yeah.
Because we're kind of like a bunch of humans trapped in between two cars with zombies in them. So it's kind of like
So I mean, there's a whole new set of challenges here. We get the moment where we've got people trapped in between cars, and the guys are like 4 cars behind them with 4 cars of zombies between them. to be able to go and rescue.
We're trying to go rescue the ladies that got trapped earlier. Mm-hmm. They're hiding in the bathroom, and I'm just like, I'll get back to that. But no, and they play into so many interesting ideas with the reason that they managed to get back there. The zombies can't see them during the dark when they're in the tunnels.
Yeah, you know what? There's a lot about these zombies that's actually pretty unique to this.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting as well. It's not just... Yes, it seems like they're kind of blind, like they're more hunting on sound than they are on sight. I mean, if there's enough light, they can see, but the white eyes are not just for effect. It's showing something's dead in there. They can't really see.
Their irises have died. So, and anybody that knows eye structure and such, I wish I knew someone that really knew what they were talking about with that. But no, like their iris is dying and their eyes becoming white. That I wonder if that's like an actual medical thing.
I would imagine that there's a reason for that. I mean, I'd imagine that that's what they're doing. That's why they're trying to show that, what they're illustrating. I also think it's interesting that the movie begins with a dead deer in the middle of the road, and the deer is coming back to life. Well, I mean, yes, we're laughing because in Ohio, the deer take their lives in their hands on a regular basis, and more often than not, in one of those battles between deer and car, the deer actually wins. The car does not.
When we saw that deer on screen, I yelled, "Skinwalker!"
But it's not that. The deer was a zombie. The deer is carrying the infection.
Which is terrible, because if animals can carry the infection, then we're all doomed.
Yes, and that's the thing, because
if the mosquitoes catch the infection, we're all doomed.
That's the thing. In most zombie apocalypse movies, not all, but in most, the animals do not carry the infection.
Yeah.
It's something that's specific to humans. So that does throw in a whole new element there, although it's only there at the beginning. They don't come back to it.
Yeah,
I'd almost want to know if maybe it was that something that got out of the lab?
Yeah, that could have been what spread the infection to begin with.
I mean, there's more, I think, that we could know about that, and that we just don't.
Well, no, I almost wonder if we went back and looked around the area that deer was at, if it had any signs that said anything, because I bet that's the deer that spread the infection.
It could be. The problem is, if there's signs, we couldn't read them.
Yeah.
We don't speak the language. We don't read the writing.
Yeah.
So, because that was even something I was pointing out, that, like, how cool are the baseball jackets, and yet, I mean, it's the same kind of collegiate colors and font in these completely different characters. That was really interesting. But no, back to the animals, and that's an interesting aspect to these zombies. Something else, this virus works fast.
It took
seconds.
And you know what? The thing that I find interesting, I think there's a difference between how fast it affects a male and a female, because it specifically when we saw the teenage girl earlier, she turned in a matter of like seconds, whereas some of the guys that we've seen throughout, it took them maybe a minute, maybe two.
I was wondering if it might have something more to do with where you get bitten.
Oh, that's
because
true.
If you're bitten on the hand, or if you're bitten on the leg, man, that's a long way up, pushing against gravity.
That's true.
If you're bitten on the neck.
She did kind of get bitten on the neck, yeah.
Yeah, if you're bitten on the neck, then it's
going to the brain faster.
Done. And so I don't know if there is a difference between the sexes, or if there's a difference between where you get bit. There's so much that we could speculate on. They are fast zombies.
They are running zombies. They are jumping. Why do they have to be jumping? But they're also stupid zombies. So we don't have to, like, they're dumb zombies.
We don't have to barricade the door because they can't figure out how to work the latch.
Yeah, and if they can't see us, then they don't know we're there.
And again, that comes back to, it's just, there's so many things here that are just a little bit different from what we're used to seeing with zombies, and just enough to give us a new a new experience.
And can we just talk about the clever ways that they were barricading these doors? They were like wetting newspapers and attaching to the windows. They used a fire extinguisher and blocked out the window. I was sitting there and I was like, that's so clever. These people, they're kind of stupid, but they're also very resourceful in certain situations. And I do admire that. When they're connecting trying to figure out how to shut the door to keep our infected, I say as I hold up air quotes, people out. They're tying their clothes together and attaching it to a seat to keep the door shut. Like, it's so interesting, the ideas that they're coming up with throughout this.
The whole thing is a very original take. If there's anything that I can compare it to, it did feel a little bit like 28 Days Later to me.
I was thinking about that initially with, like, the rage virus and stuff.
And it's not just the running zombies. It's trying to give you an original take on it. It's trying to give you a take that's not American as well. We get a much better ending. We get nice army guys in this instead of not so nice ones in 28 Days Later. But yeah, there's a lot there that does that I relate to there.
No, that is so much fun.
It's also when we talk about how they're trying to give us stuff we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
They are trying to give us stuff that we haven't seen before as far as zombies in places or zombies appearing where you don't expect them. So we see helicopters in the sky, and there's zombies that are just hanging off of them until they can't anymore, and then plunging to the ground.
And I'm wondering, like, I really would like to go back and look at those scenes, because did the zombies lose their hands? Are we talking about zombies that don't know when they're broken? Because
I would think so, because of the speed, and that's what you get with a fast zombie. They just run until tendons snap and bones break.
Yeah.
They don't feel pain.
Because, like, I'm wondering if, like, because I know with some zombie movies, they're sort of aware of that, and they will, like, grab onto stuff and rip on stuff. I'm almost surprised that, especially during that chase at the end with all the zombies, that they weren't losing their grip with all of those handles weren't made for gripping.
No,
so I'm
they
kind
weren't.
of surprised they were able to hold on in the first place.
Yeah,
But I guess there is that, like, uncontrolled strength there, so...
And that one, I guess, is maybe some suspension of disbelief. Maybe you've got your arm around it or something like that. They're coming out of windows, and there's so many of them that you can push enough of them up there that the pressure on the window just finally gives.
Yeah.
And that's really what we see, because you never see one zombie jump through a window. No, you see the window break, and they just spill out.
Oh my gosh! Literally, we get one scene where our trio, well, I guess our quad is trapped underneath two cars. Where like one car that was flaming for some reason decided to
two trains just collide, and then
we're trapped in between them.
Curved over, it's off the tracks,
and we have these zombies in one of the train cars that are looking down at us via the window,
and just pushing,
and it's
and
like
just pushing.
The weight, and I'm just sitting there like, oh my god. Because they're keeping us in suspense with him trying to like move the a metal thing out of the way, like make a way for them to get out.
Dig his way through and get people out. And then they just start pouring through. One window breaks, and the next one, and the next, and it just and they're just pouring out around them.
And it's like our crazy guy that like saves the two girls at the end. Which, honestly, if I'm sitting here like watching this crazy guy, I wish they had done something more with him.
He fits the trope of the doomsayer.
He does, but we'd never get a reason why, though.
No, we don't. But we don't get a reason why in a lot of these characters.
That's
it's just
true.
Let's throw in a bunch of disparate personalities and characters.
Yeah.
And then throw them in the blender and see what happens. And there was one other thing that I saw with these zombies that I thought was interesting.
Oh, yeah?
They are not above attacking their own. So, at one point, and actually it happens a couple times, some people will sacrifice themselves to stop the current horde, the current flow of zombies. And they're getting bitten, and they change. And you see the veins pop. You see the eyes glaze over. And you can see them turn into a zombie even as they're trying to push back against the waves of bodies. those bodies don't stop. They never stop attacking. They never push our big guy away in the train. They never push our homeless guy away underneath. They just dogpile over them then keep going.
I'm almost wondering, because I thought he had gotten pushed over when they were trying to break through the glass again.
But I
guess even then,
we see the transformation, and they're still going at him.
Well, he was still pushing for a while, though. I wonder if it waits until the entire transformation has gone over.
I suppose.
No, that's an interesting idea, though.
There's always the question of how can they tell. In The Walking Dead, the smell will fool them. But these zombies don't seem to have smell. And they don't seem to have sight, or proper sight. So it's not like they can look and see, oh, yeah, you're one of the club. So
yeah,
it's an obstacle. And they're just plowing over it.
Yeah.
And they're not above using each other to make a mountain or to make a tail on the train.
One of them literally climbs up upon the crew that is like holding on for dear life, and he jumps attempting to get on that train.
And also, that doesn't go well for him because he misses and then hits something on the track.
Like a sign or something?
The effects here are really good. We should mention that. There's a couple set pieces. When the train derails and twists, we see bodies flying in the air. We see the occasional, it's got to be a CG insert because the stuntman couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But it's so blurry and so out and so fast that you don't register.
They don't over rely on it, which is very, very impressive for something like this.
They don't over rely on much. In fact, they don't linger. So when the zombie gets you, it's bam and move on. Your brain doesn't have enough time to acclimate. Your brain doesn't come up and say, okay, yeah, that's a cool latex effect. Okay, I see they probably pelted him with a paint gun or something like that.
We don't get those like dramatic like last words like
this is a thing though, because especially with gore and with stuff like that. If you stay on it, your brain has time to start realizing,
picking it apart.
We
don't get that much time.
You never do. We have...
They keep this movie going so much. 1 minute we think we're safe. Oh, wait, never mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like, literally, as I was talking about at the beginning, this movie keeps you on your toes.
Well, it doesn't just keep you on your toes, though. It also is just... It is ready to sit there and wreck you. You look like you've been personally attacked right there.
I feel attacked. Oh man, that ending hit me. Spoilers, but that ending hit me hard.
But it's not just the ending. They did it a couple times throughout the whole thing.
I was crying during a couple things. Like I had especially I'm trying to remember the specific times aside from the ending when I was like,
when Big Dude buys it.
Oh yeah, no, I was
when
like, no.
Annie buys it. There's just. They hit you again and again and again.
And it doesn't get any easier.
No, because they spend enough time making you care about these characters. These are not just archetypes that have been set up to fall down. And again, this is where I'm like looking at this as very different than... When I think of zombie movie, I do think of the Romero movies. Or I think of just the slasher and gore stuff from the 80s, where it's a lot of stereotypes, archetypes, and stuff like that. And there's so much more character development here that you do care when something... I'll tell you something else that actually I noticed that's so different here from, say, an 80s, 90s movie. It's the cell phone usage.
That's true. They do utilize that a lot
They
throughout
are integral for not only news, but
calling,
keywords, what's trending. Yes, and you know what? Calling, it just makes it so much worse.
Yeah, and it makes it feel so much more real.
I don't know what's worse. Listening to our main character's mom just fade away and die over the phone because you're experiencing that. Or the fact that Mom, the ex-wife that he's taking his daughter to, Mom just never, ever picks up.
Yeah.
And so you know.
She's gone.
The cell phone just makes it so much more emotional, so much worse.
Yeah.
It makes it so much harder. I think that's a really fascinating part to it.
No, yeah. And I keep coming back to just how much this movie left such that the movie ends essentially as, well, the dad
as
gets
our
bitten.
survivors are reaching safety. I mean, we do kind of we should have a happy ending. Doesn't feel like it, but we should have a happy ending because the survivors make it. They make it to the friendly
army.
Yes. They almost don't, but they make it. They hear our little girl singing down the tunnel, and it's Aloha Mai. It's like,
man.
oh my. Lilo and Stitch is such a thing here in this household.
That is what killed me.
They have to use that song.
That song. I'm going to start crying again. Let's not talk about this. But no, oh man. This movie has so much to it. I don't even know if we can hit all these. I will just say the whole idea of this movie taking place on a train, especially with that just being our main setting. Like we already talked a little bit about like some of the problems, some of the like benefits of being on it.
Yeah.
But just the idea of like, I kept mentioning this because I was talking about all of my zombie survival tricks as we're going through. Like, okay, let's hide under the curtains if we can't get away, or let's hide in the bathroom. They do that later on, but they should have done that earlier. I think I mentioned something like being on a train is good because you're constantly moving, and that's a thing. And like I know you said it's not something that's super common, but. In the Walking Dead video games, specifically with Season 1, there's on Season 1, Episode 3, Lee and the gang, they find an old train, and they are just traveling from one city to the other. And it's like an old train, not like a newish train. It's like one of those old coal-burning ones. And what's funny is that the conductor's room looks almost exactly the same when I compared it when you went to set this whole thing up. But, no, like, it's... Even with them, as they're, like, riding on the train cars, it's like, you gotta stay in one of the cars. Don't let the zombies see you. We're gonna close the doors, except for when they're teaching her to shoot, but that's aside the point. But, like, I love that, like, new setting, because we don't see that often. Sometimes we're in a mall. Sometimes we're traveling. Sometimes we're in a forest. Other times we're in a city. I've never seen one on a train before, and I love that.
Yeah,
It's
one of the things I think that really captured everybody's imagination.
Yeah, and like literally with All of Us Are Dead, it takes place in a school. You are moving from floor to floor, and you just see all of your fellow classmates around. We end up in rooms like the principal's office or in the infirmary, or we go to the gym at one point. And it's like we see all the different buildings of a classic school, and it just makes it feel so much bigger, honestly. Especially with the whole thing with, like, the army trying to swoop in, because there are times when they try, like, to land on that roof, but they can't. So it's like we get the bait outs when we think we're going to be safe, but we're not. And I'm just like, are you kidding me?
There's one other thing I wanted to point out. You recognized one of our voices. One of our voices.
Yes!
That was actually
jerk,
kind of...
The rude guy! The CEO who I hate! He's voiced by All Might, by the way.
Yeah, that was like I know some of these people from. Okay, you're in Squid Game, you're in the Eternals, you're in this, you're in this. I see some familiar, but the fact that you caught that voice, that's just a fun little thing to. And
I didn't notice it until he was talking lower and more serious, and I was like, wait a minute. So I spent a minute like looking on my phone trying to desperately find this, and I'm like, no way!
That actually might be something you should do some more research on and look into, see if there's any of these other English voice actors that might come up.
He's done a ton of anime, so I'm surprised that like this is something that he's done.
I'm not. I mean, voiceover work is voiceover work.
That's true.
So no, that all makes sense to me. But I thought that was kind of cool, and I want to leave this on just a fun high note, just because of how emotional this movie is. It is a recommend. It really is.
Please watch it.
There's a reason why this thing garnered such international acclaim. There's a reason why there's a copy in my library. So yes, this one is a recommend, and I was surprised to find it on your movie Wheel of Boom.
Yes. Well, then we'll see you for the movie box of Doom, because all of your movies have something to do with Doom. All right, we'll see you guys next week.
Yep.
Bye.